This is unbelievable. The Ottawa Senators have traded Zack MacEwen to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for Kurtis MacDermid. Do you understand what's happened here? This big freak got his cheeks beat so bad by Arbor Jacki, he lost his spot on his team. And they went out and they got a bigger duster who knows how to fight, I don't know, to like fulfill that enforcer role. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, but man, I wish this could blow up in their faces somehow. Realistically, MacDermid plays like 19 games this season for them and then never comes back to the NHL ever again. But that's not the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video. I've got a few things that I want to cover, like Lane Hutson, for example, and the growing potential for his contract extension. We'll go over some news, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and then we'll say bonsoir. Bonsoir. Let's talk about it. Oh man, lots of silly stuff going on. It's been a hell of a preseason. I wish it would end. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that hockey's back, but why does some preseason games seem like they mean absolutely nothing? And then others, it's like Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Montreal's playing against Ottawa tomorrow night, maybe tonight, depending on when you're watching this video. And the stakes, for some reason, they're high. It can kind of be explained. You know, these are division rivals. They meet a lot. They play a lot. There's relationships built there, bad relationships. Like I'm talking about the relationship where, you know, you break up and you don't even go and collect your clothes or furniture. You just leave it all there and say, sayonara. But why does it have to be like this? I've seen people suggest that preseason shouldn't be against teams in your division. Maybe that way, you know, you could have some interesting matchups and avoid some of the pent-up anger that sometimes teams will accumulate. But honestly, I just think that they need to shorten the preseason, and teams need to make their decisions about their players in a shortened time frame, but also doing it on the fly. Why is it so painful to bring up and send down young players that could crack the lineup? With the individuals who aren't waiver exempt, you already have an understanding of how they can perform in the NHL. And you should have, some sort of an understanding how they could play on your team or how they could integrate onto your team. I don't know. That's just me. But I've heard, people that are legitimately in the hockey industry and understand hockey much better than I do say the same types of things. So we'll see. I expect changes to be made next season. But for that Ottawa game, I don't know who they're going to send out, but the Montreal Canadiens released an interesting article today. But for it to be interesting, I think you kind of need to read between the lines and you might have to put on a tinfoil hat a little bit. The Canadiens held a practice today in Quebec City, and there were a lot of fans in attendance. Thousands of fans filled the seats at Centre Vidéotron for one last chance to see the Habs in action before they return to Montreal. They announced, unfortunately, another piece of news here, Zachary Bolduc will not participate in the practice, and he's considered day-to-day with a lower body injury. That stinks because he would have been a good cast member for tomorrow night's matchup against the Senators. Now, the interesting part, they demonstrated the lineups, but I really feel like it's intentional how they arranged them. Of course, we have Caulfield, Suzuki, Slav, Veleno, Doc, Gallagher, Newhook, Kapanen, Demidov, Anderson, Evans, Laine, and then this final line, the fifth line, Blais, Beck, and Jacki. So if Bolduc was healthy, he would probably be in the Veleno role, or I suppose he might be where Kapanen is. But whether it's Veleno or Kapanen in that lineup, there are still 4 extra forwards, right? And then on defense, we have Matheson, Dobson, Gooley, Hutson, Jacki, Carrier, Engstrom, and Struble. And then finally, our goalies, Montembeault, Dobesh, and Kakkonen. Is it a coincidence that, the individuals who could be on the chopping block are lower down on the totem pole? Is that expression politically correct? It probably isn't anymore. Actually, I think I'm in the clear. I just searched for it. Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's definitely intentional that those individuals are lower in the lineup, but Veleno and Kapanen are just fully in there. I feel like one of those two individuals is going to make it into the steady lineup, and the other one, of course, will be the 13th forward. But who else is going to tag along? I think Struble and Xhekaj are pretty safe. Anyway, this all aligns with what I said in a previous video, and I really feel that Veleno and Kapanen demonstrated that they're more versatile and play a little bit of a stronger game than Blais, Beck, and Xhekaj. The exception is Xhekaj. I think that he brought a very high level of compete, but there were times that he was ineffectual. But I think he's a wild card type player, and I think that in a lot of situations, in a lot of games, he would be more useful than Kapanen and Veleno. I really feel like this could be a season of lots of experiments, which brings me to my next point about this lineup. Doc, Demidov, and Laine are not together. And if you remember last game they played, they did not play together either, and it worked out better for, I think, every single one of them. It might be that they can't make Doc, Laine, and Demidov work, and honestly, that's not a problem. Montreal has a problem that maybe isn't a problem, and it's that there's a lot of roles and role players on this team. It's kind of a hodgepodge or a Frankenstein team of players that can do defense, not so much offense. And do offense, not so much defense. Individuals that are extremely fast, like blazingly good skaters, but can't shoot. And I'm being a little bit reductive here because I think, everyone on this team is great and they all bring their certain set of skills, but are pretty much good at anything that is put in front of them. It's just NHL hockey. It's like splitting hairs, right? I saw a broadcast today of Max Domi. They were talking about how for 2.5 years, they've been trying to get Max Domi to shoot more often.
Listen, they've been trying for 2.5 years to get this guy to shoot the puck more, to the point where I think even Wayne Gretzky called him up and said, "Hey, Max, you should shoot the puck more."
Because apparently he doesn't shoot enough. But I went and I looked at his stats and he's got like 9% shot percentage. So he's shooting too much because that's not a great shot percentage for a forward. On the other hand, Josh Anderson gets just a ton of grief about his shot percentage, but his shot percentage is better than Domi's, and still, the broadcasters on Sportsnet will take some time out of the Stanley Cup Finals broadcast to throw shade at Josh Anderson.
I just wonder if that's the stiff shaft Anderson model. We'll never get to see.
That's Anderson's hands right there.
All year bad. I got it, Josh. I'll get you.
Make that make sense. So the last bit of news that I wanted to touch on was the continued conversation around Lane Hutson's contract. You might have seen the Kirill Kaprizov signing. You might have seen the Luke Hughes signing. And most recently, and maybe the one that has brought the Lane Hutson contract conversation to like a fever pitch, Jackson Lacombe has recently signed a contract with the Anaheim Ducks for $9 million. 8 years at $9 million for Jackson Lacombe, who is a fantastic young defenseman, but he's not a Calder winning defenseman. Jackson Lacombe is not tied for most assists by a rookie defenseman with 60 assists, matching Hall of Famer Larry Murphy. So that it begs the question, if Jackson Lacombe is getting paid $9 million, what do we expect for Lane Hutson? Keyboard warriors have taken to the internet to say minimum $12 million, minimum $13 million. He's going to take up 20% of the salary cap. Whoa, let's calm down. It's a few things that go in Montreal's favor. Hutson is a 10.2C restricted free agent. He has no arbitration rights. He can't sign an offer sheet. So unlike Jackson Lacombe, he isn't close to unrestricted free agency. And unlike Hughes, he doesn't have that family name leverage. And the Montreal Canadiens don't have like the immediate playoff urgency or like the window being open urgency to work in their favor. Like the Devils are kind of have their backs up against the wall a little bit. And actually, I want to touch on that while we're talking about it. Same thing goes in Minnesota with Kaprizov. Think of it like this. We know that Minnesota offered Kaprizov $16 million. He turned that down, and a lot of people were like, let him walk. Minnesota lets him walk. They don't offer him $17 million. What does the franchise look like after you losing a key player like Kaprizov? What then happens to the business? What are the implications in terms of ticket holder money, jersey sales, so on? Are they going to lose more than that $1 million AAV? I definitely think so. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if that tickled you in a funny spot. So then if not $10 million or more, why is Lane Hutson signing for closer to $9 million. Well, first of all, he's got competition on the team in the way of Noah Dobson. We don't know it yet. Honestly, it could go completely sour. But with more data backing him up and having just signed a $9.5 million contract, is the Hutson camp going to feel kind of compelled to say, hey, wait, yeah, we're a Calder winning rookie. We had a great first year. The future is bright, but my new buddy who's joined the team, who has more stats driven to kind of back them up, and who has performed better than I have points production wise, why am I supposed to get more than him? I could actually argue on behalf of Hutson for that, but it's a good point, and it might affect their reasoning. Still, I think that this contract conversation between Hutson and the Canadiens will get right up to the finish line, and it will stagnate right there for a while. And it might be semantics, and it might only mean the difference of $250,000 or something to that effect, but it will stay there. And that's okay. I think we deserve to be patient, and I think that the outcome in the end is going to be fantastic, but it needs to happen sooner than later. So Elliot Friedman hinted that he thinks there's conversations going on behind closed doors.
So one of my theories is that the Canadiens have been trying to keep this kind of under wraps, and that they've been trying to hammer out this deal and get it done. And, you know, when Hughes signed for 7 times 9 and Lacombe signed for 8 times 9, you know, people were sitting there and saying, oh no, like Hutson, he's 10 or he's 11 or he's over Dobson, and Dobson's just signed for 9.5. I've been thinking about this a lot.
Montreal hasn't been loud about it, but he believes that there are talks. So I trust Elliot Friedman. And also, I want to recommend that you go read an article from my friend. He's not really my friend, but he's talked to me online, so that's something. Marco D'Amico. He put out a great article called How Canadiens Can Get Creative with Hutson Extension to Lower Cap Hit. I'm going to quote something. I got to quote it right. I'll put it down in the comments if you want to check out the link. But I'm going to end the video here. I'm excited for tomorrow night. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you think Montreal is going to do to respond if Ottawa puts out another line of bruisers and holds back their star power on what is going to be Montreal's final game of the preseason. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate your support. Last video went absolutely bonkers. I tell you how much that I appreciate you, but really, you're changing my life. I feel like truly blessed every day that I'm able to do this and able to create this platform, this community that we're able to talk about Montreal Canadiens, share thoughts, share ideas, talk hockey. Like I've said that before, I don't have a whole lot of people in my life that I can talk about hockey about every day, but really I do, because I've got y'all. You know, you guys know what to do. Hit the like button. It helps me out with, I don't know, probably search SEO. What's that stand for? Super energetic ostrich. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I would love to have you as part of the community. And as always, I will see you down in the comments.